Let me know in the comments where you guys have these teams. I'm going to be quite harsh on some of these teams. Like, it's really going to be either you've exceeded expectations, you're mid tier. Spoiler, Crystal Palace are going to be towards the mid tier, and then at the bottom you have teams that have completely underperformed. And I feel like we all know what those teams are. What those teams are. Anyways, enough waffling on. We're gonna start with Nottingham Forest. Nottingham Forest very easily go towards the S tier. When we're talking about a team that's exceeding expectations, Nottingham Forest is the embodiment of exceeding expectations this year. Last season, Forest finished 17th. Nottingham Forest last year finished 17th. They were very lucky to escape relegation, and this year they are third. That is amazing. They're not going to win the league. By the end of the season, they may not even get Champions League football. But to go from 17th, even just from 17th to 10th is an amazing jump. But so from 17th to European football, which I believe Forest are going to ultimately get by the end of the season, even if it is just the Conference League, I feel like Forest by the end of the season do get European football. Is a massive improvement. So I have a lot of respect for Forest this year, and that's why I put them first of all. They are the team going first in this tier. They go to S tier. Forest have been fantastic this year. Then Liverpool. Liverpool, because they've been the best team in the Premier League. Yes, Forest have definitely exceeded expectations, but Liverpool have been the best team in the Premier League this season. A very good argument for them being the best team in Europe this year. When you think about last year when City won, how close that race was, where they only won it by 2 points. When you look at the year before that, City won the league by 5 points. The year before that, City won the league by 1 point. We are at the end of February, and Liverpool are already 11 points ahead of Arsenal. Now, Arsenal do have a game in hand, but how dominant Liverpool have been. The performances that we've had from Virgil van Dijk, Mohamed Salah, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, etc. Liverpool are easily the best team in the Premier League this season, and that's why they are my second team in the S tier bracket. Third team in S tier, I'm going to put Bournemouth. Similarly to Nottingham Forest to a lesser extent, and that is why I used Forest first. But again, a team that has definitely exceeded expectations this year. A team that last year finished 12th in the second part of the table. Not relegation battle per se, but definitely the second half of the table. And this year they are 7th, and again they are also in that battle to get European football. They are only 3 points behind Man City, they are only 3 points behind Chelsea, who are in 4th place. So you're talking about Bournemouth at this time being in a Champions League battle. Again, a team that has exceeded expectations. They get a round of applause. Again, similarly to Nottingham Forest, Bournemouth have been amazing so far this year. Next team. Actually, that may be it for S tier. Yeah, I feel like S tier is reserved for these 3 teams. Forest, Liverpool, and Bournemouth. And now is the rest of the tiers. I'm going to start off with... who do I want to go with? Let's go with Newcastle. I feel like Newcastle get to be on A tier. They've been good this year. Right now, they are also in that battle. They are only... 2 points behind Chelsea, so they could definitely be getting Champions League football. And this is where we want Newcastle to be before they spend that big amount of money. Also, shout out to Alexander Isak, second top scorer in the Premier League, has the same amount of goals as Erling Haaland. Isak has been a revelation this year. Sorry, I messed my words there. He's been a revelation this year, and not because we didn't know that Isak was this talented, but it's just about the consistency that Isak is playing with. You know, Last year, Isak ended the season with 19. Wait, wrong season. How many goals he had last year? Give me a second. Let me just find it. 23, 24. Oh my days. Okay. Actually, no, this is important. Just bear with me, guys. I'll go and find the numbers. So he has 19 goals so far this year. Last year, Isak had... Come on, Google. So he had 21 goals this year. So again, there was that expectation on Isak on, okay, you were amazing last year, but can you do it again? And Isak has definitely done that. But I'm gonna save the Isak praise for another video. Just talking about Newcastle again, they are in that Champions League battle, which they should be. A bit shaky at the beginning of the season, but they definitely made a comeback and they are playing amazing football so far. So A tier deserved. Another team that's going to A tier is Arsenal. You know, still in a title race, quote unquote, although it's Liverpool's pretty much now. And yes, you can argue that Arsenal have bottled it. But when you look at this Arsenal team, the fact that they're missing a striker, they've had so many injuries this year, and they are still second. Yes, I won't put Arsenal in S tier, but I'm definitely putting Arsenal on A tier. They are definitely one of the better teams in the Premier League. They aren't exceeding expectations like Liverpool, Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest, but Arsenal have still been very good this year. And yeah, I feel like the pressure on Arteta is growing, but let's not ignore the fact that Arsenal are still a good team and they've had to deal with a lot this year. Next team on A tier, I'm going to put Chelsea. Chelsea could have also been on S tier. I just feel like they've also exceeded expectations, just not as much as, again, the top three teams in Bournemouth, Liverpool, and Forest. But again, Chelsea have also been very good. Maresca has done a fantastic job with these players. Really, when you look at the problems that Chelsea had at the beginning of the season and the questions that were being asked about this team and where they are now, fourth, Champions League football, they are only 1 point behind Forest in third place. Now, Forest do have a game in hand, but by the end of the season, Chelsea could definitely be third in the Premier League with Champions League football. Definitely a lot better than what a lot of people thought at the beginning of the season. I had Chelsea finishing fourth. I just thought that they had amazing firing power, even with the defensive errors they've had so far this year for Chelsea. The inexperience of a lot of these players. Maresca's first season, like, he came in and the first thing he done was the Enzo Fernandez issues. He just stabilized the whole club and then he started performing, and for that I have a lot of respect. Chelsea definitely A tier. Who do I have next? I feel like that'll be it. I might come back to A tier and just do that again, but for now that is it. Should I go? Nah, we'll carry on doing it by tiers. B tier. The teams that I have in B tier, I'm going to go with Brighton. Again, Brighton are just another good team. They've had issues with managers. They finished 11th last year. Right now, they're 8th. They're about, as far as expectations go, they're about mid. They're not blowing anyone away with what they're doing this year, but so far they've been better than last year. I'm going to keep Brighton in my mid tier. Then we have Fulham. What do I have? Fulham again. Mid tier. The teams in the mid, in my B and C tier. I'm not gonna talk a lot about them. We're just gonna try and hurry up because I don't want this tier list video to be too long. And yeah, these are mainly my two teams, and then we're gonna be looking at the teams underperforming relative to expectations. I think I might also have put Brentford on this tier. I'm going to put Brentford on B tier, not necessarily because, how do you say? They haven't been better than last year. They've definitely been better than last year. But last year was there was Brentford underperforming. This is where we expect Brentford to be more often than not, especially this year. So yeah, again, Fulham, Aston Villa, and Brentford. Ironically, the three teams in 8th, 9th, and 11th. We're gonna get into Aston Villa in a second, but the teams right about in the middle of the tier, I believe they've been quite mid. Yeah, so we're gonna leave them there. Then you go into a team like Aston Villa, and Aston Villa, I'm gonna put them in C tier. And these C tier, like these tiers, don't really do the justice. So it's pretty much S tier, exceeding expectations. A tier, they've been good. B tier, pretty much mid. C tier is the teams that are beginning to underperform a little bit, and Aston Villa are definitely on that tier. You have a team who last year was able to get Champions League football, and right now they sit right in the middle of the table. They are right about mid. And yeah, as far as expectations go, I do have Aston Villa in that underperforming tier. They've not been good enough. They've not been as good, and especially when you consider the players that they've not bought in Rashford, Asensio, etc., the quality of manager that they have in Unai Emery, you do expect a little bit more from Aston Villa now. After what they did last year, we expect more from Villa. Anyways, moving on, we have a team like Crystal Palace, and it's hard with Crystal Palace because Crystal Palace, we kind of expect them to be where they are right now, so I'm going to put Crystal Palace in B tier. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for Crystal Palace because they've not been relegated in what is it a decade this year? It's either a decade this year or last. We are right about the time of when Palace were last promoted into the Premier League. They've been in the Premier League now consistently for a decade. They are 12th. They are doing their job. They are over 10 points above relegation. So they're probably going to be fine. Another season in the Premier League. And yeah, Palace just continue to fly high. A team like Everton, again, just underperforming. I don't think Everton have been absolutely awful like some of these teams that we're going to get into in a second, because how do you say? Because Everton haven't been good for the last few years. Everton have always been in this relegation battle. So I'm not going to harp too much on Everton and what the expectations were. The expectations weren't very high, but still, just a club of the size of Everton in the city of Liverpool, you just expect a little bit more from Everton. And so far this year, once again, underperforming. Then you get into, I'm going to go over the three teams at the bottom very quickly in Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester. Surprisingly, I'm going to put Ipswich in, as far as expectations go, quite in the mid-tier, because a lot of people had Ipswich being relegated anyways. So it's like, it doesn't really come as a surprise for them to be in a relegation battle as they are right now. And the reason why I put them in B tier, for some people it might be a bit like weird. Oh, why is a team fighting for relegation in B tier? And my reasoning for that is because, again, no one had real expectations for Ipswich coming into the season. Out of everyone's list that I saw, I didn't have anyone saying that Ipswich were going to survive. So they are right about where we thought they were going to be. Ipswich don't have the power of the Premier League teams, and that's another problem that there is in the Premier League. Just a big power discrepancy. And yeah, Ipswich being in a relegation battle doesn't surprise anyone really. But Southampton as well, some people had Southampton going down, even most people. But the reason why I put Southampton in a tier below Ipswich is because Southampton, they're not just in a relegation battle. Southampton are having a historically bad Premier League season. Like, historically bad. They've only won 2 games all year. They've lost 22 games. You know, it's not surprising that the team at the bottom of the league has lost more games than won, but to only win 2 and to lose 22, Southampton are having a historically bad season. Again, the only reason why I don't have Southampton in the absolute worst of worst tiers is because, how do you say? Because there wasn't a lot of expectations for Southampton to do well. Like, again, most of us thought that they were going to be relegated once again, but the football they've played, again, historically bad. Leicester, again, are going to go in underperforming. The reason why, again, I don't have Leicester at the bottom of the bottom is because Leicester, quite in the summer, that is, the manager that got them promoted once again in had a quick turnaround of the team went to Chelsea, and Leicester were left once again without a proper quality manager. Again, not a lot of expectations for Leicester. They still underperformed because, again, you think about Leicester, you think about the size of the club, you think about them being relegated once again. But this tier is about expectations. What expectations did I have for these teams? And for Leicester, my expectations weren't really high. So, yeah, I feel like C tier is deserved. And now we get towards the teams that are really bad. The teams, I'll let you know right now, spoiler, these teams are all going to end up on D tier. All of them. Why are Man City in D tier? Yes, City are 5th in the Premier League right now, but the expectations, they are 20 points behind Liverpool. Man City are 20 points behind Liverpool. That is awful. So when we're talking about a tier list where I'm ranking teams based on expectations, I definitely expected the 4 times, like Pep loves to say, the 4 times, no one can do it like us, 4 times in a row, and you're 5th, 20 points behind your biggest rivals, you're going in D tier. That is disappointing, to say the least. Right down to D tier, you've been one of the worst teams in the Premier League so far this year, as far as expectations go. Next team, I'm gonna save United for last. I'm going to save United for last because I have a lot to say about United. The next team on this tier is Tottenham. What do you even say about Tottenham now? It's like, I heard it all at the beginning of the season. It's always the same thing with Tottenham. Nah, this year you'll see. We finished 5th last year. We're going to be able to be in a Champions League battle. Blah, 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 blah. And they're 13th. Oh my God. 13th. I'm not going to spend too much time on Tottenham. 13th, Tottenham stink. That's just it. Tottenham aren't good enough. And it's really sad for Tottenham fans because Tottenham have a very loyal fan base, or fans that spend a lot of time and energy and money on this club, and they just keep underperforming year in and year out. At this point, I don't even know if Tottenham are underperforming anymore, because this is what we expect Tottenham to do. We expect Tottenham to not be competitive. We expect Tottenham to not really get European football at this point, because with what Tottenham have done over the last 20 years, there's no reason for us to believe that they can be better than that. Tottenham, D tier. West Ham, another team in D tier. West Ham stink. I don't even know why they signed Lopetegui. Lopetegui is one of the biggest frauds in football. I've said this for a long time now. At Porto, he was a fraud. And then after Porto, I don't know how he keeps getting high-profile jobs. How he gets a job for Sevilla, Spain, Real Madrid. How he even gets a whiff of the Premier League is beyond me. Lopetegui is one of the biggest frauds in football. I saw enough after his 4 or 5 years at Porto, where he was just beaten. He was just beaten year in and year out, and he had a squad to be able to compete against Benfica, but he was just beat year in and year out. Lopetegui, again, one of the biggest frauds in football, and I don't feel bad for West Ham because you should have never signed him. Like any football team knows, Lopetegui is the type of manager that you do not go near, because he just makes teams worse. Next we have Wolves, and Wolves, I just honestly, I want Wolves to get relegated at this point, because Wolves, what are they doing in the Premier League? What do Wolves do in the Premier League? What do they bring to the Premier League? What do they add to the Premier League? Wolves literally don't do anything. I have a serious dislike for this team because they don't do anything meaningful. They just waste everyone's time. And once again, they are very close to being relegated. If I could, I would swap Ipswich with Wolves. Let Wolves go down and keep Ipswich in the Premier League. Let's see what the impact that Ipswich being in the Premier League, what impact that could have for that football club and for that city. Because Wolves do not deserve to be in the Premier League. Honestly, they do not. They don't do anything. And you look at a team like Crystal Palace, who do not have nowhere near the budget or the type of player that Wolves have, but they keep finding ways to be competitive in the Premier League and stay in the Premier League. Wolves and the type of football that Wolves, I don't even want to get into. Wolves is a whole different video. And finally, we get to Man United, and United are also going to go to D tier. And with Man United, if we're talking about teams underperforming this year, there's no team this year that has underperformed as bad as Manchester United. Everything that's going on outside the club is bad enough, but the football that we get to see week in and week out is disgusting. The way the managers are handled is awful. The way these players have been handled for years now is awful, and it is really no surprise that the club is where it is right now. 15th. And it's like, if you're 15th like in the first 5 games of the season, I mean, you can always come back. 16 games into the season, worrying. The second manager talks might start. 15th after 26 games played. We only have 12 games left and you're 15th. Oh my God. We're 13 points off relegation. We're 34 points off the top. 13 points off relegation. 34 points off the top. This is the worst season I've ever watched Manchester United play football. The absolute worst. Calling myself a United fan these days is shameful. I'm ashamed to say I'm a United fan these days, because we are the team that have underperformed the most in the Premier League this season. But yeah, that's the tier list. In S tier, okay, this is the tier list. let me not try and get myself worked up. Tier list, the ranking the teams in the Premier League from expectations of what they were at the beginning of the season and what they were now. S tier, we have Forest, Liverpool and Bournemouth exceeding expectations. We've had Newcastle, Arsenal and Chelsea doing quite well this year. We have Brighton, Fulham, Brentford, Palace and Ipswich being quite mid, doing what we expected them to do. We've got Villa, Everton, Southampton and Leicester underperforming compared to expectations, and we have City, Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves and United as the teams that have underperformed the most so far this season. But yeah, let me know in the comments what you guys think.